Hey, buenos dias. Happy Friday. Uh, TT says, I'm so shocked that this is a thing. I thought you were talking about me showing up live here on YouTube on a Friday morning. This is not when I normally go live. But as I mentioned, I was out in the streets, in these Mexico streets on Wednesday, and could not get my stuff together to go live then. So, again, buenos dias. Feliz Viernes. Happy Friday, y'all. I hope everybody's doing good. If you are, new here, you're just joining, let me introduce myself. I'm Adelia Borishade, the founder of Picky Girls Travel Solo, a Facebook group for Black, female, and femme solo travelers of all ages and all experiences. I am also the creator of the Financial Confidence Academy, where I help women of color master their money so that they can have the freedom to live the life they want, which is what I've been doing since 2016. We're coming up on the actual anniversary next month. I'll have to do something for that. So welcome. If you like to find out about moving abroad, traveling, life as an expat, finances, you like to learn about finances just in a very straightforward manner, you are in the right place. That's what my channel is all about. And you should subscribe and come hang out with us every week. Normally, I go live on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern, but that did not happen this week. So I thought I would pop on here today and talk to y'all about haters. um, in the work that I do, working with Black women who are, like trying to plan a move abroad, um, in my solo travel group, I'm also in a variety of different groups and different spaces for people who are currently moving abroad, who are thinking about moving abroad. And the the hateration is real. I see it all the time. So I thought, why not do a video and let's talk about that? Because what inspired me was I was scrolling through and had just seen, I guess it was like the one comment too many, just like dumb shit that people say to people who have expressed interest in either traveling or moving abroad. And it's like, these people won't let us have nice things. Um, Hey y'all, good morning. I know it's a surprise to see me here on a Friday morning. I hope y'all are doing well. I think about I left the United States in July of 2016. Um, I made the announcement on my Facebook on, I think, in March of that same year, even though I had already like signed the contract and knew I was leaving. And I can't say that I got anybody in public saying things like, why are you moving there? Or, like that kind of thing. Because when I first left the US, I moved to Tegucigalpa, Honduras, which is the capital of the country, and had just maybe the year before been chosen the murder capital of the world. So I wasn't moving to a very popular place for folks who leave the US. But I can't say that I got a lot of public negative scrutiny. No one said anything to me directly about, like, oh, you sure you want to do that? Blah, blah, blah. When I announced, I didn't get that. Um, Now, and those were from the people that knew me. And so maybe being the math nerd that I am and a former geography teacher, maybe people were just like, well, of course Adelia's going to move to Central America to learn Spanish. Like, surprise, she hasn't done it already. Um, So I didn't get that then. What I did get was more of, I might be in other spaces and somebody might say, like, oh, where do you live? Or where are you from? And then I'd have to go into the, oh, well, I live in Honduras or I live here. And then it would be like, you moved there? Why'd you move there? One of the, I got actually, I think I got more flack when I moved to Mexico the next year, which, in my opinion, and no offense to anyone from Honduras, Mexico was an upgrade. My life in Mexico City was and is an upgrade over the life I had in Honduras, as well as the life I had in the US. So I think I was taken by surprise when I got more of that negativity about my choice of Mexico. Um, and I wonder if that's because, Honduras is a small country, although it's got a lot of issues. It's not on the radar for most people from the US. However, Mexico is a different thing. There is typically a lot more coverage of Mexico in the US news than someplace like Honduras. Then you've got shows like Narcos. You think about who was the president of the United States from 2016 to 2022. Um, and there was definitely more focus, I think, in the US put on Mexico, and pretty much all of it was negative. So I got more flack then. And one of the things that people would say to me, and I've had this list of like stupid shit people say to travelers and expats. And one of the things that people used to say to me all the time was, well, why you going there? They're all trying to come here, in reference to the United States. And that, of course, is a very problematic statement. And if you've watched any of my videos, or you have watched any of the times that I've been like on Rashida's videos or on her IG, I have a penchant for like facts and little tidbits of information. So when people would come at me like that, I'd be like, well, actually, the number of Mexicans in the United States has been decreasing for more than a decade. Like, you're confused. Those are people coming from Central America, South America, Africa, even Asia. Because you would be surprised at the number of Asians who are trying to get into the US through the southern border. I know geographically that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, so that I always was like, that is the dumbest thing ever. So the implication is they're all trying to come here to the US because the US is great and fabulous. And you're going to a country that they're trying to get out of. Come on now, y'all. If there's one thing I think that happens in the narrative in the US about countries like Mexico, is that it's just poor, squalor, and drugs and cartels. And that's it. And I would hope that if you've watched any of the videos on this channel, you know that that is not the case. There are people in this city and in this country who have serious money. There are, like normal, average, working class kind of folks. There is a small middle class. So this idea that nobody wants to be in Mexico or other countries and they're all trying to get to the US, that's bogus. That's bogus. Now, am I denying the fact that there are people at the southern border of the US trying to get in? No. But those, at least if you're talking about people from Mexico, those tend to be people who maybe are from really, really small towns, rural areas, farmers, people who may not have a lot of the kinds of skills that they could use to make money, let's say in a place like, in more urban settings, a place like Mexico City. Redefining Happiness says, I stopped telling people my plans, but I'm ready to dip, except my younger brother, who is 100% behind my decision to travel. Yeah, that's the thing. Tell the people you want to tell the people who are going to support you. Stephanie Perry says this all the time. The same people who support you in your regular everyday life may not be the appropriate support system for your plans to move abroad, or your plans to travel, or your plans to be a digital nomad. Like for me, I probably only had like 3, 4 friends. And most of them just were like, okay, yeah. It didn't seem odd to the people who really, really knew me. Um, the Clubhouse for Women. Do you consider yourself having a small business highlighting Mexico? No. I talk about Mexico because this is where I live. When I used to blog, before I was on YouTube, because I didn't want to be on YouTube, when I blogged about living in Honduras, living in China, living in Kuwait. So as far as expat life, I share where I happen to be living. And at this moment, at least for the last 3 out of the 5 years, I've been here in Mexico. So that's why I talk about Mexico. And how do I handle the haters? Here's the thing. Most folks, if they're hating, it's not to my face. And I don't, y'all, I don't care. I don't care what they think. Really and truly, I am living the life that I want, the life that I always dreamed about, the life I envisioned for myself. So, what some small minded, possibly uninformed person thinks, like, it doesn't matter. And I have kind of taken that kind of thought, like, oh boy, I used to be married to. I'm sure he talked mad shit about me and the choices I made. And I did not get caught up in, like, oh, trying to defend myself, trying to set the record straight. I keep that same energy with anybody who is hating on my choice to be here in Mexico or to live this life. So yeah. Let me see what other comments we had in here. This is interesting. Self-care mindfully. It can be difficult for critical thinking skills to overcome biases. It's really sad and frustrating to explain decisions, so I just don't anymore. I'm too old, too grown to explain my life decisions. This is how I feel. I'm right there with you. Um, I I think sometimes when there are people who share their experiences publicly, which I have a YouTube channel and all of that, I guess I fall into that category, people might think that I am sharing these experiences because I want their validation or their approval or whatever. And that is not the case at all. I say this all the time. I try to be the person I needed when I was younger. And it would have been really helpful to me to see someone who looked like me choosing to live life in a way that was different than the status quo. So yeah, I don't care what I don't care what the haters think, but hearing them does get annoying. It does get annoying. Gigi says people operate in fear. I get that, but I'm not letting their projections stop me. And I think that's an important point, is that a lot of the hate that you may get for your decisions is about them. It's about them projecting their issues on you. They are afraid of this thing, or they are concerned, or they would be uncomfortable living in a country where they don't speak the language fluently. And again, that's a them problem. That is not a you problem. Ivana says people love to ask women, especially Black women, about what someone else thinks of our decisions because they don't respect us on our own. That's it right there, y'all. And I I also feel like when a woman, particularly a Black woman, is like, I don't give a fuck what it is that you're saying or that infuriates them even more because we are supposed to care about their opinion about our choices. No, that's a them problem. I don't have time for that. Queen says, I'm not trying to hate on folks who choose to stay in the US or folks who can't even comprehend leaving. I'm trying not to judge them, so I'm not worrying about them judging me. Judging. I just said this to somebody the other day. There's like way too much of that. Everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of people feel compelled to pass judgment on the choices of other people. And I say this on the podcast because there are times when the women who I happen to interview also happen to be, travelers or living their lives outside the US. And while that was the right choice for me and those women, I am never saying like that's the right choice for everybody and hating on folks who choose to stay because for them, that's the thing. It's supposed to be about letting people live the life that is right for them and make the choices that are right for them. So if you want to stay, that's fine. And I won't say something like, well, it couldn't be me. Because see, that's hating. No, I know that it couldn't be me. So I don't need to say that out loud. Because saying that out loud is about making the other person feel bad for their choice. And we're not here for that. We're not here for that at all. Okay. Yeah. If we could just live and let live, y'all, the world would be such a better place. Um, No. Okay, because so Sandra's question was, have you had any of those same haters want to come visit, stay with you after I got settled here? No, most of the people who have come to see me have been people who either were, Team Adelia from the get-go or who were travelers themselves. But the haters, when I would, let's say, go back to visit the US, or I might post something and then they would reply to it. It would be like, oh my gosh, you look so great. You just seem so happy. You just seem to be enjoying life. Because I am. Because I am. Um, so, some of the other things that people say, because I made a whole list and then no, did I close it? Okay. I made a whole list. I mentioned why you trying to go there? Because all of them are trying to come here. Ugh. I want to pop somebody in their throat every time I hear that. But probably the number one thing I've seen recently, and I think I take offense to this because I see it happening in spaces that are supposed to be safe for Black folks who are looking to switch things up. Black folks who are either looking to move abroad or who are looking to travel more. This comment of somebody mentions the country or places that they are choosing, or maybe the language that they are trying to learn in anticipation of moving, and then somebody got to come in the comments and be like, why you going there? They're racist. Now, y'all, do you really think that there is a Black person choosing to live in, let's say, a Portugal, a France, um, a China, who doesn't know that there are racist people there? Really? Do we really think they don't know that? And I get from those comments, those kind of hater comments, like, so what you're saying is I should only move to countries that are not racist. Please point those out for me, because where do they exist? Where do they exist? They don't. I don't know how many times we got to say racism is everywhere. So telling me, well, why you going there? They're racist. What am I supposed to do with that? What, because I guess that comment is coming from a place of, I would not live there because of their racist history. Well, that's you. Because the thing is, you have to find the places that you travel to, the places that you move to. They have to be places that work for you. Doesn't matter how they work for other people. They need to work for you. So as people of color, as Black people, racism, it is always on our mind. It's never that we didn't consider that this country could be racist, but it's all about finding the racism you can live with. And for me, living in a country where people might treat me a little different because I'm this color versus being shot at a grocery store because I'm this color, I'll take the staring, you know? Um, I don't know. Let me see what y'all are saying in the comments. Um, how many Black people have moved abroad? There are not stats on this because when most people do studies, they do not include us. But I know that the last census here in Mexico, it was very surprising that of the number of foreigners here, like there was a significant number of Black Americans in Mexico, but nobody, as far as I know, nobody is tracking that data. Um, Comfort says, I admit that I was that person who told them that they were making the incorrect decisions. Then I realized that their decisions don't have an impact on my life and it's none of my business. There you go. That's it right there. That's it right there. Um, it is, again, like I said, if we would just let folks make the choices that are right for them, and if those choices do not impact us, why do we have anything to say about it? Here in Portugal, there are a ton of Black folks. Most are part of the slave trade or from colonial territories. That's the thing. Because in that same like racism comment that I see a lot, people talk about well, that country did this thing in the past. Y'all, I look at the country that I am from and the horrible, abhorrent history of the United States. So if I'm not going to travel to or move to countries that did some janky shit in 200 years ago, where am I going to go? There will be very, very few places. I mean, I guess I could move to like Nuaru in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but it's only 8 square miles. Like, so I get very irritated when I hear that because it's coming from a place of like Comfort said, like basically you're telling other people their choices are wrong based on what works for you, and that's not what we're supposed to be doing. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. Okay. um so so we talked about, why you going there? They're all trying to come here. Oh, they're racist there. Um, Another one that I see a lot, and y'all probably already know what I'm going to say about this, is, oh, you're going to travel there? Is it safe? That place isn't safe. They have cartels there. Like that place is unsafe for women. Newsflash, there is virtually no place safe for women. As long as the patriarchy exists in its current state, there is literally no place safe for women. So, this idea that, again, I don't know if this is coming from a place of like Oh, I don't think you've done your research, so let me tell you that that place is not safe. No place is safe. Y'all know. I say this all the time. Safety is an illusion. It is the lie we tell ourselves because we are not safe anywhere. Tragedy, violence, all of those things can happen to you no matter where you happen to be. So, this idea now, there are places where you may feel safer, but that doesn't make you safer in this country than this other one. And I would like to assume that we can, as people like share their plans or they're asking questions because they're in their research gathering piece, like, can we at least assume that grown folks know these kinds of things? Um, I y'all know that one irritates me to no end. So like, of course, here in Mexico, uh, and let me tell y'all, when I first moved to Mexico in 2017, cartel violence, like, was not even on my radar. Like, I know it existed, but I also knew where the big cartel territories were, and I wasn't trying to move there. So I was not going to let that steer, what I was doing. It's like being in the US and being like, "Oh, I don't want to move to New York or New Jersey because of the mob." I say all the time, I don't have cartel business, so that's not a pressing thing. And again, random violence can happen anywhere. Anybody from the United States knows that. Um, and then people ask about, oh, well, like, aren't you worried about getting kidnapped or sex trafficked? Y'all, I lived in Houston, Texas for 41 years. Isn't it the hub of sex trafficking in the United States? So again, why am I going to disqualify some place or just like not even consider a place because of problems that exist in the country I was already living in? Like, that makes no sense. Do these people believe that there's more of it there? I don't know. Or that as a Black American woman, I'm going to be like, I'm at the top of their who to get list. No, no. This is the one place as Black people, I think we benefit from the shitty portrayal of us in the US media. Because I look at it this way: if there is somebody who is kidnapping folks for money here in Mexico or in Honduras or wherever, and um, they're trying to decide who to grab, the Black person, they're here again. This is where racism and that kind of stuff actually benefit us a little bit. They're going to assume I'm poor and broke. I am not going to be the person that they are easily going to get the money they're seeking. So I don't know why people feel like us we would be their top attraction. I don't see that. I don't see that. I see the chat over here is going. So let me see what y'all talking about. uh, See, this is the thing. If you're not supposed to live in a country that has violence and danger, especially as a Black person, the United States, that is literally pretty much, I don't want to say this, but I do want to say this. That's pretty much all it is to me. It is such a dangerous place for someone like me to live. So, good point. Good point. There are very few places in the world untouched by colonialism. And if they are untouched, it's because they were unattractive to the colonizers, which means you living there might be kind of difficult, might be kind of difficult to get there, might be kind of difficult to support yourself economically, you know. Whenever someone mentions safety, I remind them that I did home visits in my county alone for work. Where was the concern then? That's the thing right there. Because I have a solo travel group for Black women and femmes. And the one of the biggest things that holds up folks from solo traveling is this fear of, danger, violence, and all that. And you make the point that I make all the time is, were you concerned about that when you were living your everyday life in your home country? Because as a woman, you drive your car alone, you go to work alone, you go buy groceries, you do all these things alone. Are you worried that some horrible thing is going to happen to you? Or do you just, go on with your life? So this concern that because I'm outside of the US, things are worse, that don't make no sense to me. None at all. None at all. Okay, hold on. Scrolled up a little too fast for me. I it I think sometimes I am too practical. Like if I'm a sex trafficker, you're this is horrible, but this is true. A middle-aged mother of two, a Black woman, that's not who they looking for. Okay. um I am not at the top of the list. They want people who are easily disappearable, that nobody's gonna come looking for them. uh I would love to do what y'all are doing, but I'm terrified of being harmed because I have no support or family. I am an advocate for chosen family. I have said this multiple times. For most of my life, I had no support. I had me. So I don't know what it is like to grow up and have this mass of people that would have your back or that sort of thing. So because I wasn't born into that, I have done that. I have created Team Medelia. I have created community in the places I have lived. And I've had frank conversations. I want to say earlier this week, Rashida and I were having a conversation along these lines, like, what's going to happen if X, Y, and Z, you know, takes place? If folks in my circle don't check in, I was like, hey, ain't heard from you all day. You ain't checked in. Like hit me up before this time, or I'm going to have to go over there, like for the folks that I have keys to their apartments or that sort of thing. So if you leave the US, whether you're traveling or you're moving, and those people don't come with you, that doesn't mean you have to stay alone. You are in charge of your life, you're in charge of your destiny. You can create family. It doesn't even have to be people who are where you are. I have I have people in other countries that we still check in because we are women alone doing life alone. So that means we've kind of redefined what family looks like, what network looks like. So if you don't have those people with you, find new people. That's what I do. That's what I do. Oops. It's See, y'all, Ivana she always knows the right thing to say. It's important to expand our idea of community and be intentional about creating it, whether you're in the US or abroad. Absolutely. Um, and I would, I would also offer that a lot of the way we live our lives in the US is not about creating community. think about it. American individualism very much is a thing. You're supposed to be able to stand alone, to do things on your own, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, blah, blah, blah. So we are coming from a society where the individual is prized. And I think we are learning now, looking at the state of the world, that that doesn't make sense in the long run. And if you're going to choose to lead a life that is different than the status quo, whether it's traveling, whether it's living in a whole nother country, you have to be intentional about creating community. Because I'm somebody who was from a very small family to begin with, and now there is virtually no one left. So if I went through life only feeling like the people I was born related to could be my support and could be my family, I don't think I'd make it. I don't think I'd make it. Um, Another one, so they're racist. It's not safe. They want to come here. Um, this one particularly gets under my skin, like that as a Black person, you have a duty that if you're going to leave the United States, you must move to an African country. I I don't like being told what I'm supposed to do. And again, the people who say these things is like, how that's the right place for this person? You're commenting on, what they have shared, what their plans are, and you're like, oh, well, you should go to a Black country. You should go to a Black country. You should go to an African country. Here's the thing. I have interviewed quite a few people who have moved from the US and lived and spent time in African countries. And the conclusion I have come to is that too many Black folks in the US idealize, romanticize what going home to Africa is going to be like. And maybe it's because I know the things I know that I'm like, it's not going to be that. There's like, y'all, there are folks who really feel like you're going to show up in Sierra Leone and there is going to be this like welcome home lost ones party. No, no. These are countries that have been colonized and have to deal, are having to deal with the layers of bullshit that come with that are, have internalized some of the same colonial racist bullshit we have and we're trying to work through. Maybe they're not working through it as fast. And then here's the other thing, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but those of us who are the descendants of enslaved folks, people who are part of the diaspora, we may be Black, they may be Black, but they don't see that as necessary the unifying thing that we see it as. Okay. And a lot of folks move to African countries and get their feelings hurt because they were not welcomed with open arms. People didn't see them like, hey, this is another Black person I'm dealing with. No, they did not see it that way. And so I that notion that that's what we should do, like we owe Africa something. How I owe a place something I've never been to. And y'all, I'm half Nigerian. and I don't feel a call to be there. I have not visited Nigeria yet. But the African countries I have visited, I was like, okay, this is great. But the difference was when I landed in Mexico City, I was like, this is it. This is me right here. So this idea that I have some obligation because I happen to have been born through the lottery of birth as a Black person, that the only place I should even consider when moving abroad is an African country. That's stupid as hell. There's really no other way for me to say that. See, this is the thing. Greta said that I've come to realize the American dream is not the dream for me, and I am choosing a new dream, which is your right. There are folks for whom the American dream is doing what it's supposed to do, is giving what it's supposed to give. And for them, that's great. But if it's not giving what it's supposed to give for you, try something else. And you should not be judged or harassed because that's what you're doing. The American dream is not conducive to building community. How We Show Up by Mira Birdsong is a great read on this topic and how to think about things differently. I told y'all, Ivana be coming through. Multifaceted Shay, I really needed to hear this. Thank you. I didn't know. Like, I was going to do this as a pre-recorded video, but because I didn't go live on Wednesday, I was like, I'll just go live today before my Spanish class and do it. So I'm glad that this is given what you needed. I'm very happy to hear that. I think our experience, what is it they say, being African American, which is not a term that I particularly am fond of, but it's being American without the privilege and African without the memory, without the history. I think us as Black folks from the US are in a very, very peculiar, unique situation because we are from a country that doesn't want us, doesn't care about us, has unlimited amounts of disdain for us, and has done a lot to erase the history of our people before we arrived in North America. And so as a group, we've always been trying to create and define an identity. And so I hear this from my Black friends who are not American Black. Like, for us, Black trumps things. Like, oh, I'm gonna cut for you. I'm gonna look out for you because you're another Black person. When Black people from other countries, their identities have other elements to them where they don't see the Black thing maybe in the same way we do. And so we take that and we go to these African countries where, the ethnic group or the tribe that you're from carries far more importance than the fact that, hey, we both happen to have the same color skin. So I think we need to understand that how we look at Blackness and our experience of Blackness is very different from theirs. And to expect this level of, I don't want to say welcoming, but to expect all of that from them, I think it's unfair. And like I said, people get their feelings hurt about it. I think, folks, it's important for us as Black people to move and to live and to explore all parts of the world. I don't subscribe to any like any place is more important than another place, because y'all know me, I'm all about what's right for you. Find the path, find the place that's right for you. That's all that matters. Um, okay, I'm trying to catch up in here, y'all. I can't. Power of Tranquility with Arlene Cahet. I can't tell you how many times I've heard some African American people say they were called white when getting to their country of choice in Africa. I have heard this and I have seen this in some Facebook group I'm in. It's one of the bigger ones. It was I think the lady was Ugandan, and somebody had commented being a Black American and being called white. And if you have lived the Black American experience, somebody calling you white, like that kind of hurts. Like, It's like, why did we have to go there? And so I engaged the young Ugandan lady who was like, yeah, people break down and either you African or you white, and y'all ain't African, so y'all are white. And I was like, look, we're not white. Those people are white, and calling us white is like problematic and low key hurtful. But yes, and just that issue alone shows how just because we all black, we all have brown, dark brown skin, don't mean we all the same. And culturally, so different. And that the expectation is that you're just going to kind of fit in like that missing piece from Jenga or Tetris. You're setting yourself up for heartbreak. And anybody who is pushing folks to do that, you're coming from a place of, do I want to say ignorance? I don't know. But that's not a good move. That's not something you should be doing. Cheryl says, I'm a veteran and I loved America, and I have come to the point that America doesn't love me back. Um, that's the thing. I can remember several instances where it clicked for me, like I'm not patriotic, like I'm not this stereotypical American, because the way I was thinking about things and the way I felt about things just didn't click. And that's when it occurred to me, like, this is not really the place for me. And if I can go find a place that is a better fit for me, let me do that. Redefining my happiness says, I have a friend who thought she would get her citizenship with no problems, but she was looked at as just another foreigner. And she's been there almost 2 years. Y'all, we have, I think, I don't know, maybe Ivana knows because she be knowing this stuff. Um, I wonder who has written on this, but I really think that's not something we talk about, is like the unique precariousness of being a Black American. There are some times when we do get American privilege, and I will not deny that. Um, but then there are times when we don't have the American privilege, and we are this other thing that folks in different countries just don't. They don't know what to do with us. They don't want to have nothing to do with us. It's wild, y'all. So there are violence, cartel, blah, blah, blah. There are some people who feel called to move to an African country. And if that's what they are feeling, go for it. That may be the right place for you. But to set yourself up to tell somebody because they're Black, that's where they need to go. Nah, fam. We're not doing that. Okay, F doctor. Can we talk about those who say that you really haven't divested unless you cut all the ties with the states? Is it really divesting if you choose to come back and still reap American privileges? Here's the thing, how somebody makes that's not my business. That's not my business. And how I choose to do, like, I have seen people who have said this, like, you're not really, like, I consider myself to be an immigrant with an I, to Mexico, because for me, somebody is an expat if they live someplace but they're not intending to be there permanently. Like, they may return to their home country, they may go somewhere else. When I moved to Mexico in 2017, I wasn't here very long before I knew, like, okay, this is it. I may choose to be someplace else, but this will be my new home. So I consider myself an immigrant. But that doesn't mean, just because this is my new home country, that doesn't mean I completely cut off the US. because there are good reasons, very sound reasons for returning, for maintaining property, addresses, accounts, that sort of thing. So I, again, we started talking about all of the judgment about how people are doing things. That's not my business. And like how I'm doing my thing, that's not somebody else's business. So this idea of, oh, well, you're not really gone if you haven't done XYZ. Why are we trying to be the arbiters of other folks' experiences? I don't like that. I don't like that. What is this? Pretty Cyber. Someone in a Black Facebook group said this: as Black Americans, we will never be at peace anywhere. We have no homeland. I disagree with that part about never be at peace, because I feel very much at peace where I live now. However, I do feel the part about not having a homeland, because in another like Black people living abroad Facebook group, often the question will come up about home. And I do not consider the US to be home. If I say I am going home, I am referring to Mexico. And before I moved here, I felt like I was someone without a home, because Honduras was not home. The US, even though I had spent 41 years of my life there and I had been born there, it did not feel like home to me. So I very much identify with this notion of we are a people with really without a home. Very much I do identify with that. What else is on my list? Okay. Um, the next three things, or the last three things on my list, kind of all go with, I guess a lot, there are folks who see this as something you do temporarily. Like, okay, that's all fine and dandy that you're going to go live there for a year or two, but you can't really like build a life in that other country. Who are you going to date? How you going to find a husband? And I say husband because that comment often gets thrown at Black women. And the assumption is that the Black woman is looking for a man. Had a dude in my inbox yesterday. I was feeling charitable, and some strange dude inboxed me, and I was like, because they all say, like, that's where it's where you can find love is in your DM. So I'm like, okay, I will try this. So I engaged in a little bit of conversation. It was just kind of like, hi, how are you? Where do you live? Blah, blah, blah. And old boy comes back with, so what are you looking for in a man? Huh? And I replied, I said, so what makes you think I'm looking for a man? But again, that's the idea, is that if you are a Black woman, that is the only thing on your mind is a desire to be partnered. And the assumption is often made that you are heterosexual. So you looking for a man. And so I see these comments like, yeah, that's great, but who you gonna date? How you gonna find a husband? Y'all, that's not our business. Let folks date who they gonna date. And if they don't find anybody to date, maybe they don't want nobody to date. I don't want a husband. I I shouldn't have had the first one I had. I sure as hell don't want another one. You know, and this idea that it's something, becoming a digital nomad, moving to another country, that it's something that you're just going to do temporarily. If you want to do it temporarily, that's fine. But this idea that it should only be temporary because, you got to get back to like living your life, getting married, having kids, all of that kind of stuff. These people really be getting on my nerves with that kind of thinking. And so that same sort of thinking, I see other comments in that same vein of like, well, that's fine for y'all that don't have kids, or you people that don't have responsibilities, you could go, but those of us that have it, we can't. Or the other side of that, shaming folks who go like, oh, you're just gonna walk away from your responsibilities and go live this life. Y'all, there are people with children in all of the countries of the world. So if you got a kid, I bet the country you move into, they got kids there too. They have old people there too. They have single people there too. They have married people. Like it almost feels like outside the US, people think like it's outer space almost. Like you're going into some alien realm. It's wild. It is wild. Oh, okay. Y'all be in the comments and then I lose my place. Okay. Let's see. I heard once you relinquish your US citizenship, it is very difficult. Yes. Okay. And I'm glad you brought this up because there seems to be a lot of kind of misinformation around like, I am a resident of Mexico. I consider Mexico to be home. I am still a US citizen. I still have a US passport. Even if I got a Mexican passport, which I would be eligible for in, I think, 2 years, I'd still have my US passport. But there are some people who choose to give up their US citizenship. It is not a decision that should be taken lightly because of this. Um, you become just a regular person of citizen of the country that you have your new citizenship. You can't give up US citizenship if you don't have another one. So let's say I went and I got Mexican citizenship and I gave up my American passport. Well, I would have to apply for a visitor's visa just like any other Mexican. So if because my kids are in the US, my grandkids are there, I own property there, that would be a really stupid move for me to make because there is a high probability I will need to go to the US and I would rather be able to do that more easily. So I know many of us, particularly those of us who are Black Americans, when we leave the US, we are like, I want to cut off all ties. I don't want to fool with you no more. But from a practical standpoint, getting rid of your US citizenship, unless you are, let's say, you got a European passport. Europeans, if you have an EU passport, you don't need a visa to come to the US. So, you'd have to be strategic about it. But yes, that is something to consider. And the worst, why you want to go there? Ain't no brothers my age there. There is a way to ask somebody about what made them choose a country or what's drawing to them there. But you're right. Often the question is, well, why do you want to go there? It's not, ooh, what made you choose that country? You're asking for the same information, but how you ask is it's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different vibe. Uh, and I feel this. All I know is I'm not traveling or living abroad to struggle. I can do that here in the States. That's real. And I can understand that. So again, that goes to finding the right place. Like when I very, very first started like looking at countries that I thought would be nice to live in, I considered Switzerland. Because if you look at all the demographic data, Switzerland looks like an awesome choice. And then as I started to dig in and I was like, okay, retirement visa, you have to have an income annually of $100,000. And I was like, oh, Switzerland don't want poor people, so they don't want me. So if I move to Switzerland, I've passed through Switzerland at the airport. I've seen like the Burger King prices. I would be in Switzerland struggling. So that is not the country for me. As nice of a country as it may be, not the right place for me to live. Since I received my Mexican permanent residency, explaining the difference of citizenship and residency is some to someone is challenging. I tell my female friends having another residency is critical. I am about having options. This is why I'm always talking about people getting their FU money together, because FU money gives you options. Having residency, even if you don't want to live outside the US, to me, having residency rights in another country, like that's the ultimate in having options. And I think we have, those of us as Black folks, we look around and we have been denied options so much of our history, that if I'm like, if we can get them now, let's take advantage of it. And if you think about it, even like generationally, like the moves you make, how you could be setting up, if you have children, relatives, what have you, how you could be setting them up in the future, you know. When old boy was like, "So what are you looking for in a man?" And what I should have told him was, "I need a man to bring me tacos, because that's really that's really all I'm looking for." Okay, I think I got back to where I was. Okay, y'all are blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, everybody is not called to marriage, and again, a lot of what I'm seeing online is coming from people from the US, because I only read English and Spanish. And this idea of, I think a lot of it is they're holding on to the ideal of the American dream, and what are the things you're supposed to do to achieve that, even in spaces where we are talking about living other places or living a nomadic life. They're still trying to take these elements of the so-called American dream and make them fit. That's a square peg in a round hole. So this idea that somebody might want to live a life where they don't own a house, they are not married to another person, they may not choose to have children, or they may opt to adopt, or if it's looking somehow different, this idea that that's problematic, you're not doing it the right way, um that's bogus. Oh, Nikki, can I just say my eyes teared up? I didn't know how to put into words how I have felt for years. I never felt like I had a home. Born and raised in Brooklyn, and it never felt like any place is home. Here's the thing, it's all the lottery of birth, where it is completely random where you end up. And this idea that the place you were born, you're supposed to magically fit there. Y'all, we can say the same thing for families. Just because people are related to you by blood doesn't make them great people. That doesn't mean they have to be your favorite people, because sometimes we're born into shitty families with shitty people. And that's why I'm an advocate for chosen family. I see it the same way. So just because I happen to be born there doesn't mean that's where I'm supposed to be, that's where I fit best. No. Um, Giving up US citizenship, if you are very wealthy, makes a lot of sense, because Tina Turner is a prime example of that. She has lots of money, and her man was somewhere else. It did not make sense for her to continue to be taxed by the US. And because she qualified for, some might argue, a better passport, why keep it? But for the average person, giving up US citizenship is probably not the best idea. And I can have that citizenship. Don't mean I gotta like live there and I gotta be in love with that place. Um, okay. Doesn't matter what anybody says. I'm so ready to go. Doesn't matter what anybody says or the tone with which they say it. You live your life. I'm going to live mine. Peace out. Y'all, how different would the world be if we just let people live? I don't know if it is worse now because we have things like the internet and social media, and that's why people feel compelled to share their opinion and their judgment of other folks' lives. Like, were they making these judgments and these opinions before, but we didn't know because they didn't have a tool to like put it in our face? I don't know. But this idea that, well, I feel this way about your choices, therefore you need to hear what I have to say. No, you can feel how you feel about my choices, but keep that to yourself. I don't have to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't need to hear it. Blah, blah, blah. Slow matting in Mexico. The comments. The comments just jumped on me again. Y'all are in here chatting and I'm trying to keep up and I'm not doing a good job. Blah blah blah. This is the thing. I don't know that white people get the same blowback that we get about making these choices. Because, first of all, people have been migrating since the beginning of human history. And so, me or you or whoever choosing to leave the country we were born in and to go some other place, either to explore and be nomadic or to be an immigrant and move somewhere permanently, like this is nothing new under the sun. But the flack, and maybe because I'm not in a lot of white spaces, I'm in a few. And when someone makes a choice, I never see like, well, why would you choose that country? They don't like white people there. They don't like gringo. I don't see that. And but that may have to do with how white folks move through the world. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. Okay. We are gonna wrap this up in a little bit because I do have Spanish class in a bit. I'm trying to get through all the comments. There is no lie in that. I'm telling y'all, FU money gives you options. And there was a point in my life where I had to do things because I did not have options. And I never want to be in that position again. So I'm always thinking about options. That's one of the reasons, like I'm starting to get serious about residency in another country and what that's going to look like. Not that I'm dissatisfied with my life in Mexico. I just want the option. If shit pops off and this is not the best place for me to be, I would like there to be another place that can't really say, no, she can't come here. Because having a US passport, I can go to a lot of countries as a tourist visa free. But as we saw at the beginning of the pandemic, folks are not always going to let tourists in. They do, however, have to let in legal residents. So that's why I would like to have another option there, just in case. Just in case. It, like I said, we have no control over the families into which we are born or the countries to which we are born. So I choose to create my own. Glass half full. I think that Gen X has more difficulty with haters. The younger generation seem to be able to tell the haters, you know what, a little more easily. I don't know. I hadn't really ever considered this. Um, because I would say my desire to like just let folks live, I think that's very much a Gen X kind of attitude. I think um, that we're just kind of like, let folks live, let folks do their thing. So I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. As doctor says, not going to lie, it may be difficult and scary. However, I am learning fear can be a motivator when it comes to traveling and moving abroad. Definitely it can. And something I have said before, there's a episode of my podcast where we talk about fear. I'm not going to ever tell y'all, oh, overcome your fear. No, because having fear about something is valid. But I always ask myself, if I give into the fear and I don't do this thing, am I okay with what I would be giving up? And a lot of the times, the answer to that is no. So I find a way and I do the shit scared anyway. Okay. I think I'm almost caught up. Almost, almost. When are you going to settle down? What the hell does that even mean? Okay, because first of all, settle. Like, do we normally want to settle for things? No. And I would bet nobody is asking any of these men who are contemplating making these same kind of choices and moves, boy, when you gonna settle down? No, it's only for women. And I don't have a very high opinion of that. I'm trying to keep the cursing to a minimum, but I don't have a very high opinion of that. Um, I'm glad you asked this question, Viva Lofo. Any advice for the retirement community we're escaping to? This is actually the last thing that I have on my list. That haters say, what's going to happen when you get old? Um, I don't think, as a retirement age person, like anything that I've said thus far doesn't apply to you as well. Um, Living outside the US and aging, there are billions of people who do that every day. So I don't think that that should stop anybody from making those choices, even if you are making the choice to leave and you are in your 60s and 70s. I don't think there's a cutoff. And anybody who's like, oh, well, I should have gone when I was in my 30s or in my 40s and I can't go now. I don't buy that. Why you can't? What is it that older people need that doesn't exist in these other countries that does exist in the US? I can't think of anything. Now, will there be challenges? Absolutely. Especially if you are not fluent in the language, but I think that there are ways to overcome that. So, yeah, I think if you are retirement age and you are trying to get out, go for it. Y'all, tomorrow is not promised. And we, as far as I know, we get one time around. And so I would want to go out knowing that I lived the life that I wanted, or I at least gave it a try. That's what I would like to know uh, when I'm done here. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is good to know. I assume you're talking about Mexican residency, self care mindfully. Florida in Orlando is great. Do not go to Miami. Don't. I've heard too many people have trouble in Miami, so don't do that. Oops, where'd your comment go, Simi? Yes, fear nearly made me go for a job abroad I didn't really want. The recession worries me a lot. I thought if it wasn't for this fear, I would still go for the job. And the answer was no. I think that's a conversation we're probably going to have in a few weeks, or I don't know when, about the recession and are there adjustments and tweaks we need to make? Because, uh, none of this is free. Living the life you want, it's going to cost you some money. So, what are the adjustments we need to make? Knowing that we're going into yet another period of economic uncertainty. um, so yeah, that's everything from my list. I enjoyed spending my Friday morning with y'all. I have to go now because I have a makeup Spanish class from earlier this week that I need to do. So here I am living in Mexico, and I am making. One of the reasons I left the United States was because I wanted to live in another country and I wanted to learn another language, and so I'm trying to learn Spanish. And there are some struggles with that when you start learning another language in your 40s and you are an introvert, because I'm discovering that introverts do not learn language the same way as extroverts. But it's all a part of this adventure. Y'all squeeze in a few more comments I see here. Excuse me. Oops. Yes. I am looking forward to seeing some of y'all in Cancun. Just know I don't like the heat and I do not like the beach. So if y'all are looking for me, check the bar because that's probably where I am going to be. Uh, so yeah, thank y'all for coming to hang out with me um, on this Friday morning. Thank you, Sandra's Got Voice, for the early congratulations. We're not quite at 10,000 subscribers yet. So if you are watching this and you are not subscribed, help us aside. Um, because Stephanie is right. Whether that number is 9,627 or whether that number is 10,000, it doesn't really make a difference. But 10,000 is a nice round number. So I'm eagerly trying to get there, and we're gonna celebrate when we do get there. Y'all enjoy your Father's Day weekend, Juneteenth weekend. We're going to do a little bit of celebrating here in Mexico. And if I am on top of stuff, maybe I'll film some stuff. I'll try. I make no promises. I make no promises. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. There are links in the description. Like if you want to get on the mailing list, you want to find about like what it is that I do in the business that I have. If you want to join the Facebook group for solo travelers, I can't remember if there's a link in the description. So I'll have to go back and double check on that. So feliz viernes, mi gente. Hasta luego. Adios.